want to bring in our great friend here on Live Now from Fox, Brian Sobel, political analyst. Great to have you on this evening. And it looks like, Brian, that we are just a little about an hour away now, awaiting the president's signature when he does get this bill.
Historic night, Mike, for all the wrong reasons. The idea that we have gone through a 43-day government shutdown, which was entirely unnecessary. It could have resulted weeks ago in a continuing resolution, which is in effect what we're doing off to January. And instead, the brinkmanship ends up with this kind of vote necessary tonight, but it looks like the speaker has the votes he needs.
Yeah, that's so true, Brian. And yeah, I mean, let's look back. 43 days ago, that CR was there. They could have just did what they waited 43 days to do. And I think a lot of people are wondering, especially the Democrats, where it seems like within the party, they can't be too happy amongst themselves because they're thinking, okay, what did we get? What did we hold out for?
This is the thing, Mike. I don't know, as we're looking back on 43 days, what they expected to get out of it other than to break the will of the Republican side of Congress, the Senate in first order, and then the House, or, together. But what was the point of it after 3, 4, 5 days? When nobody moved, then you were into a stalemate, and then it became a test of wills. And it was very clear that the Republicans were not going to give an inch. And the pressure was building, as we witnessed. The pressure was building across the country because of things like the SNAP benefits, the food stamp benefits, the problems with the airline industry, air traffic controllers, with federal government employees not being paid. It went on and on. It's really why I think you saw somebody like a Tim Kaine, senator from Virginia, switching and voting for the end of the government shutdown. Why? Because all politics is either money or votes. And in his case, he was looking at 250,000 federal workers saying, hey, we're not getting paid, and Senator, we want you to change your vote and open the government.
Brian, were you surprised? Because, when we look back at these 43 days, in the beginning, both sides were digging in. There was clear that it wasn't going to be ending very soon. But, around Halloween, that is when we had the SNAP benefits, and November 1st would kick in, and that's when a lot of people would be losing the benefits. And a lot of people would probably think, okay, now it's probably going to gear towards ending the shutdown because they want to resolve it before something happens like that with SNAP. That didn't happen. But are you surprised, though, that really it seemed like the ball got going when the travel nightmares started to happen?
Well, I think it was that, and the fact, Mike, that people were now starting to see real effects. I think a lot of people felt like, hey, it goes a week, a couple of weeks, we can afford that. We're going to get back pay. We've got enough food in the refrigerator. We aren't traveling at holiday time to visit relatives. All of a sudden, all of these things started to come together, and that created real pressure on the Congress to act. And I think as they say, at the end of the day, I think a lot of these members of Congress knew that it was time to settle up and move on. And a lot of the shutdown, I think, had to do with Democrats trying to gain some momentum, believe it or not, here in 2025 for the 26 midterm, setting the scene that the Republicans couldn't handle their business. And instead, this may have backfired on Democrats, and certainly on the leadership of Democrats on the Senate side, and quite possibly on the House side as well.
That's all great points there, Brian. And I think what I'm trying to, I really want to ask you is, right now, the Democrats, we got 180 saying no, 181 saying no. So they are saying that they do not want to reopen the government. How do they go back to their districts and say, yep, I didn't want to reopen it?
Because they're going to go back and say that essential benefits like health care were not dealt with through this process. They are talking about premiums skyrocketing and people not having resources in which to pay for health care. That has been the Democrat mantra right from the beginning. And Republicans have been saying we had a clean, continuing resolution so that we could kick the can down the road a little bit to talk through these issues. And as you know, the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, did say he would bring this up in December for discussion. By the way, Speaker Johnson has not promised the same thing. So through it all, we have to remember we have both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and they don't necessarily think alike. And I'm just looking at the numbers here, and this is going to be a close vote.
Yeah, it really, really will be close. And even though now we have 3 Democrats that have went on the Republican side, they'll be able to say, though, Brian, that it's bipartisan.
Right. I think Republicans will give credit, as they did to those 7 Democrat senators and the 1 independent senator who moved over. I think they'll make the same claim about what is 3 Democrats here, as I look at the graphic or the live shot, who have moved over. It'll be interesting to see who the 3 are, and obviously they're going to be challenged by the media and others to explain why they voted with Republicans. But the idea that you would go 43 days without solving a problem, or at least to say, I think we could come together and work together on this, really, I think, speaks to the division in Congress right now, and the idea that we're getting very, very close again to midterms. And I think this was a way of highlighting for the United States citizens, voters, that the Republicans don't have their arms around the problems.
And Brian, in the last couple of weeks, President Trump was obviously getting frustrated that the shutdown was continuing, and even going to say, hey, let's end the filibuster. Let's just go back to simple majority and really, while we have the time, start passing some of the sweeping legislation. That didn't seem to really excite Senator Thune and others. Is that what is pretty much needed now for President Trump, to end the filibuster, to really maybe push through some of the agenda items that he campaigned for?
Well, I would make 2 points. One is that a lot of people thought that John Thune would march to the Donald Trump drum 100% of the time. And he proved with the filibuster idea, breaking the filibuster, that he is indeed marching to his own drummer, at least on that issue. Sometimes when there is an idea that you need to set aside something that's in place for a reason, like the filibuster legislation, or the rules, I should say, that changing it for a particular vote tends to come back and haunt you. And so what you can accomplish having, press the nuclear option will come back in the opposite direction. And I think John Thune saw that and said, hey, I'm not going to go along with that. And by the way, as I'm looking at the voting here, I see 1 Republican.
Yeah, that's very, very true there. Yeah, like we do have the 1 Republican now that has went on the Democratic side. I would have to venture a guess that maybe Representative Massey, I'll have to see there. But okay, now we have 2 Republicans. Look at that.
Yep. So you have 3 Dems who have moved over, 2 Republicans who have moved over, and you have just a very few non-voters at this point, 13 in total, and presumably they're somewhere around the floor ready to vote. There's always some jockeying, Mike, to be the last one to press the button and to vote, and we'll see what happens here.
And Brian, you were speaking earlier, just talking about how we live in these divisive times, and everything is so partisan. Where, I mean, look at the numbers here. Look how tight it is. 216, 207 right now. Gone are the days of where you would see maybe a huge majority voting on either side. Are we totally away from that? Is it just pretty much all going to be, for the foreseeable future, party line voting? For the most part?
I think for the near future, Mike, yes. I don't see how that breaks over the next few years. But the pendulum swings in this country and has since the founding of the republic. All those years ago, as we hit the nearly the 250th, I should say, birthday of the United States. So they're all through those years. We've had different Congresses voting different ways. We're in the 119th Congress right now. But I would say to you, to answer your question, it is a difficult period where Democrats are a block, Republicans are a block, and you can see as we watch this live from the House floor, very few people are willing to break party lines to vote with the other side. And you have 6 Dems who have done that and 2 Republicans, which is interesting.
And there we go, Brian. We're looking there on the floor. So they do have enough votes right now
Yes.
to reopen the government there. Breaking news as we are talking. So now it is ultimately go to the desk here in about an hour and 45 minutes. President Trump will be signing it, and we'll be providing our viewers that coverage from inside the Oval, just getting close to the 10 p.m. hour there when that will be happening. And, there's going to be a lot of questions now. I think as soon as it was happening in the last moments of the shutdown with the Epstein files, but now that has come back, and it looks like House is going to have the vote on the floor sometime next week. Seems like Speaker Johnson just wants to get that one out of the way.
Oh, absolutely. And then time has expired. But as you know, time seems never to really expire on the House floor
Right.
or the Senate floor. So you still have 2 people with votes to cast here. But actually, this is we thought this was going to be a slim passage. It is slim, but the Speaker has the votes he needs.
Yeah, let's just listen in right here for just a moment to get that final count.
The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
And there it is, the clapping on the Republican side as is now official there. And we are waiting to see Speaker Johnson, if he will be speaking to the media. We'll be bringing that to our viewers. But still with us here, Brian Sobel, as we just saw that happen in real time now, and just moments away from the president to sign this. So I think a lot of people wondering too now, Brian, when we get to the end of January, do you think we could see another shutdown?
Let us hope not, but the can has been kicked down the road. And as I like to say, when it stops rolling, somebody has to pick it up. And that'll be happening in January. But the whole point of a continuing resolution, if it works correctly, Mike, and it has been employed so many times, certainly in recent history, but in history, is to give breathing room for these people, breathing time for people to get in a room and work this out. I don't think that there's any upside to shutting the government down again in January. I don't think the Democrats are going to take that course of action. The Republicans shouldn't force it. And I think together they ought to get behind closed doors and solve this problem. This is what the American people want this evening.
There we go. Brian Sobel, thanks so much for joining us. Always great to speak with you, and great we had you on for this record-breaking night. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was historic, and thank you for having me.